Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Today we encounter Broome County Habitat for Humanity, and we're on location at the corner of Willow and Floral Avenues in Johnson City.
Good morning. I'm Kelly Devine, and I'm on the road for Broome County Council of Churches Encounter. And I'm here today with Amy Winans of Broome County Habitat for Humanity. How are you today?
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm so glad you could join us here. We've got a crew behind us here, and they are working on a home. The reason we're here today is actually to find out a little bit more about what they've been up to here at Habitat for Humanity. They're all over Broome County, now working with Tioga County, right? And maybe you could give me a little bit of history about Habitat. How long it's been around, what it does. We'll go a little further into that.
Broome County Habitat is the local affiliate of Habitat for Humanity International. So we founded here locally in 1992, and our mission is to create simple, decent, affordable home ownership opportunities for hardworking families in need who qualify for our income guidelines. So while the hardworking volunteers that you mentioned earlier that are working behind us, what they do is the heavy lifting. They do the labor and give their time and energy so that a family who is selected and goes through our rigors, the end of the process, can purchase this home with a no-interest mortgage loan. The mortgage payments are affordable. They're based on their ability to pay, targeting 25 to 30% of their income. And with no interest, imagine if you're a homeowner, if you could take your mortgage payment and erase that interest portion, what would that do for your family? How would that empower them? Some families would use that difference to go back to school, buy a second car. So we're trying to make, first of all, the home that effect of what it's like to have a safe, simple, decent place to live, and then help these families to grow beyond what they ever expected to do.
That's just an awesome goal. I mean, it's a partnership, a true partnership. Well, I guess, is Habitat local, or are they just local, or are they around the world? Or maybe you can tell me a little bit more about where they came from and why they're here.
It is a Christian organization, faith-based organization that was founded in the mid-70s. It started out with a group of people who said, there has to be a better way. So in 1976, I believe, Millard Fuller and some other really smart people got together and said, how can people of faith really make a difference by putting our hands together based on something called the theology of the hammer, where you don't profit on the downfall of another. And that's where that no interest component came to be. So people of God serving God in a way to create a sanctuary for families. So in 1992, the same thing happened in the early 90s, late 80s here in Broome County. 12 churches came together and started to talk about, how could we make this happen here? And now, almost 25 years later, from very humble beginnings in the basement of a local church to now a home of our own in Endicott, where we've built a warehouse and office space, we've come a really long way. And we're proud of the 28 homes that local congregations, community volunteers, businesses, community leaders have helped us to build.
That's pretty amazing. So it costs money to build a house. So where exactly does your funding come from? Is it individuals or companies, or
a little bit of all of it? We rely on the kindness of strangers. We joked a little at our board meeting, but it starts off with the gifts of local congregations, the contributions of private individuals, and then it extends further. We have community foundations that help us with some of the bigger things, and we need safety equipment, or we have an amazing project that we're dreaming about. We also have some levels of government funding that's very new. Despite the name Broome County Habitat, we're not a county organization. We are our own 501c3. We don't receive funding from the United Way. We're not one of those organizations. Recently, the federal government and state governments have really recognized the work of nonprofit housing organizations and the need to create affordable home ownership. So now there are some federal grants that help us offset some of the cost. We are building these houses at cost and selling them at an affordable amount. So imagine we're almost dollar to dollar. We are not allowed to profit on a Habitat house, so if we built it for $90,000, we can't sell it for more than $90,000. But in most cases, our families, because I said the sale price is based on ability to pay, typically we're selling the house sometimes for even less than what that is, certainly less than market value. So we make up the difference in the mission of making this dream possible for families with the kindness of community members, businesses who understand the big picture, that we're taking vacant property, we're taking houses that are in poor condition. If we're doing a rehab, we're putting them back on the tax rolls, and we're putting hard-working families who want to reach for something more, who are contributing to the community, into those homes.
It looks to me like you have quite a few people working here behind us. Now, are these paid people, or how does the labor part of it come in?
They work for donuts. I say I say that in love. This behind us is what we call our beloved core crew. So every week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, mostly Wednesdays, we have one population of regulars who come together, who have been with us, some folks for almost 20 years, some are newer, but they are our consistent crew, many diverse skills, and they give their tools, their time, their trucks, they pack their lunches, they come with hearts just full of dedication and love and kindness. And then on the weekends, we have groups that come through, corporate groups, church groups. Binghamton University has their own Habitat campus chapter, and they provide youth and energy and strong backs when we need them. So I love this crew. I'm very blessed. They are the best of the best. They represent congregations. They represent volunteers from other agencies across the county. I have Red Cross people. I have church people. I have, you name it. They're parts of all of the things in this community that make the community's heart beat. And then they come here and they give me a Wednesday every single week of the year.
That's pretty amazing. So they basically are helping other people. It's selfless. It's just doing it because someone needs it. My question is there coffee?
There is always coffee. At 10 a.m. sharp, Mr. Weidman yells, "Coffee!" at the top of his lungs, and the volunteers come running. And there are always donuts and sometimes homemade breads and other offerings, but coffee is critical, yes.
Well, let me ask you this. So if you have volunteers, you have your core, how does a group get involved? I mean, do they just give you a yell and tell you they got some free time? Do they have to have a lot of skills, I guess is what I'm asking you.
They don't have to have skills. It's on the job. Come and learn. We just ask that they contact our office, talk about how to form a group. Certain times of the year we're a little slower than others. We are a small affiliate. You asked the question about who gets paid. We are very unique in that we have no paid construction personnel. In our affiliate, it is myself as the full-time executive director. I've been here for 10 years. And very recently, we expanded our staff a little bit. We have 3 part-time folks, 1 10-hour to take care of our homeowners, and 2 20 hours. And even within that, those jobs are even a little seasonal. So we keep the payroll as tight and as low as possible, and we rely so heavily on volunteers to make this happen. And I'm really proud of that.
You should be proud of that. That's pretty amazing. Okay, so we've got homes that are being built. How do you go about the qualifying process? How do people qualify to actually get one of these amazing homes? I walked through and I'm impressed, honestly.
It is an arduous process. I think people misunderstand sometimes what Habitat is. We're not like the other housing organizations where we have a whole apartment building full of opportunities. We do a house and a half a year. families who apply need to meet our income guidelines. And we're looking for families that are making between 40 and 60% of the median income of Broome County. And I know that doesn't translate well, but basically it's families that are making enough money that they are renting successfully, they're paying their bills, they're not in horrible debt, and they're ready for something more, but just can't quite grab that brass ring of a conventional mortgage loan. So that's really where we start. And then we start with credit checks and interviews. We want healthy, strong families. The last thing we want to do is put a family through a process like this. 500 hours of sweat equity is required working alongside with our volunteers. Homeowner education, financial and otherwise, hours and hours and hours of learning. We want to make sure that this deal is for a long, long time. It's a 30-year marriage as far as I'm concerned. We want to put families that are going to stay in Broome County. Hopefully, as we expand into Tioga, we recently did merge with Tioga County, and we're working now to create partnerships and meet people and have friendships there, that these individuals are going to want to be here for a long time. So we make sure that we have the right fit. Sometimes it takes a little longer to find a family. We haven't found a match for this particular house yet. Some of that is related to major changes that have occurred in the banking laws. We all know what happened in the mortgage crisis, dialing back in 2010 and rolling forward. And people think, oh, that affected the banks. Well, it also affected any lender. And we as an organization, at the end of the day, we start out as a social service agency, selecting families, a faith-based organization, a volunteer organization. But then as you go through, we then move to a construction agency. Then we move to be a mortgage agency. We service and collect mortgages monthly, and those mortgages go back into a revolving fund that builds the next house. So we are now under the same obligations and responsibilities as the bank to make sure that we have qualified families that have healthy debt-to-income ratios. We always did have those standards, but the difference, rewinding back a few years ago, was that we could make some wiggle room. If a family had a higher debt-to-income ratio, but we knew that they had a death in the family, an ill child, some life-changing circumstance, it was part of the story and it was part of the mission. And that's what's changed for us. Some are struggling with that a little bit. From my perspective, and I struggled at first as well, but I now see the bigger picture, and as the housing costs go up, building goes up, things are on the rise. The families that we're putting in, we are now beyond sure that they are going to be able to do this.
You're still providing a service and something to a lot of people who would not have this otherwise, correct?
That is absolutely true, and the difference is that what they could get for their money with a conventional mortgage loan when they walk into the bank and they pre-qualify. What would $75,000 get them in the fair market versus a Habitat house that's sold at what they can truly afford? So this house behind me, if the family selected and that's what they can afford, that's what that house is going to be sold for if they qualify in all other layers of our program. So they're getting a brand new house where $75,000 or $85,000 or $90,000 in the conventional market probably have some work to do. And would those families have the room in their budget to take on a new roof at year 3 or to re-insulate or do windows at year 5 or 10? And this program takes that worry away. The house is brand new.
Okay, so we're talking about brand new homes. Well, you said you do some renovations too. So when these homes are ready for the owners to move in, what are the benefits of a Habitat home compared to, as you said, a house that somebody just goes and buys and then they have things to do? Why is there nothing to do except move in and enjoy their home?
There's nothing to do because the beautiful people behind me, alongside with our partner families, have done it. We have energy efficiency, well insulated, brand new doors and windows, brand new roofs. It's ready to go. And even the homes that we rehab, we bring them as close to that point as we can. So we're setting families up to breathe a little and to settle in, make some positive life choices, do what they need to do to be a successful family. and I'm so excited to see that happening. In 10 years now, and I'm not sure how many houses I've closed on. I should really count that now. But I've remained very close to all of the families that I've partnered with and worked with along the way. It's amazing. And now I'm watching their children graduate from high school and go on to college. I'm watching them open small businesses. I'm watching them make choices. Even in one case, we had someone that was a single mom. Her children have graduated, and she's decided, it's time for me to get married, and maybe I'm going to sell and do something different with my life and get ready for my retirement. Home ownership, owning property, it allows you choices. It creates a multi-generational effect. You have a legacy to leave behind, and as you grow older, it gives you options. So our homes are built to be accessible or modified to be accessible. As the codes change, we get better and better at that. So we want people to be here for a long time. That's the goal.
Earlier you talked about a merger, and it's more than one county. It's Broome County and Tioga. Did you want to say a little bit more about that, how that came about?
I love to say at Habitat, you never know what happens until the phone rings. So the phone rang in our office one day, about a year and a half ago. It's Tioga County Habitat, who, unlike Broome, no staff, no permanent office space, and a foundation type board that had been there for a long, long time. And despite efforts to try to do some renewal, just